Okay, so this is the story of the creepiest unexplained thing that has ever happened to me. This happened when I was probably around 10 years old. My parents were divorced, so I would spend time at each of their houses, and during the summer I'd spend a lot of time at my dad's, but he, worked a day job, so I spent a lot of time alone at his house. I wasn't like a kid that was afraid to be alone. I never minded being alone. I wasn't a very scared kid or anything either. So one day during the summer, I was at my dad's. I'd fallen asleep on the couch the night before and was just kind of sleeping in, The couch that I was laying on was sort of parallel to the hallway that went back to where the 2 bedrooms were and the bathroom. They were all along this hallway, so it was like kind of parallel, but like on the opposite side of the wall, if that makes sense. And then there was like an arch doorway between the living room and the kitchen and the hallway. Bad explanation, but I don't have time to draw you a picture. If you need a picture, just DM me on Instagram, I'll draw you a picture. And I kind of had woken up a little bit and been like, you know what, it's summer, I'm gonna go back to sleep. It wasn't super early in the morning. The sun was already up, and I remember being like, oh, it's really bright in here. And I had my eyes closed, and I was starting to kind of doze off and fall back asleep. And that's when I heard it for the first time. I heard a footstep and then another, and they were heavy footsteps. So I opened my eyes, and then the sound stopped. I was a fairly rational child. My first thought was it's my dad, but then I was like, wait, it's very bright in here, and my dad would leave to work like super early in the morning, so it would have still been dark if he was still home, or at least much darker than it was. It was definitely like full sunlight coming through the like blinds. Then I was like, what the fuck? For a second, but then I was like, you know what? I was probably just like dozing off and starting to fall asleep and going straight into a dream, which was not an abnormal thing for me. I have really overactive imagination, so I have very vivid dreams, and I dream very easily when I first fall asleep. So I brush it off, obviously, because like, easy explanation, just something of a dream kind of spilling over. So I close my eyes and I'm kind of laying there, and I didn't think I was really dozing off, but the footsteps started again. But they started in the same spot, which was back by the bedroom doors. And it was like 1 step, 2 step, and I didn't open my eyes right away this time because I kind of was like, I don't know, sometimes like when something very strange happens, you don't react. When something like this happens, you're kind of just like waiting for it to not be happening, I guess. I don't know. The 3rd footstep hit this time, and then as the 4th footstep hit, there was a floorboard in front of the bathroom door at this house that would creak when you'd step on it. And so the 4th footstep hit and the creak happened. And so I opened my eyes, and then it went silent again. There were no more footsteps. And so I'm kind of creeped out at this point, and I'm just like, is there someone in my house? Like, did someone, like a family member, come by in the middle of the night and I just don't know they're here? But like, then I'm like, but it's weird because the footsteps started at the bedroom again, but I never heard anyone walk back to the bedrooms, and they were really like oddly loud footsteps, like as if someone was wearing like very heavy boots or like really weighted down footsteps. So I kind of like leaned up and tried to like glance down the hallway a little bit to see like if I saw anyone, because I'm thinking maybe like someone came to visit or something. And I think at that point I was like, hello, and no response. And I don't see anyone like kind of like trying to look down the hallway. I don't see anyone, and I can see the bathroom door. I thought it was really weird that there was the floorboard creak at about where it would be if you were walking down the hallway. And so I was kind of creeped out, but I was like, you know what, my eyes were closed. So at this point, I'm not panicking yet, but I'm like, okay, this is weird. Maybe I was dozing off again though. So I'm not gonna like freak out. So I decided I'll just keep my eyes open. I'll keep my eyes open, so then I know I'm not falling asleep. And I don't know what inside me made me think like it will happen again, and that'll somehow prove that something is happening. What do you do? It's like such a weird thing to have happen. So I sit there and I've got my eyes wide open. I'm like, I'm not gonna fall asleep. I'm just gonna lay here. And it felt like I laid there for, It felt like a long time. I'm sure it was not that long. But with my eyes actively open, the footsteps started again. They started at the doors again, at the same starting point they started every single time. And there was 1, 2, before the third one hit, I think, or maybe right as the third one hit, I set up immediately and looked down the hallway, because you could kind of lean and see down that hallway from the couch, and I didn't see anyone, and I felt like I should be able to see someone if they were there, because they were almost to the bathroom door, and you can see the bathroom door from where I'm at. And so I don't see anything, and I'm like, hello? You know, and I grabbed the phone, because, you know, this was back in the day. I didn't have a cell phone, but we had portable phones. And my dad, every morning before he would leave for work, he would set the portable phone on the coffee table right next to the couch if I was asleep on the couch. You know, just in case, like, there was an emergency, I could grab it easily. It was readily available. So I grabbed it, but, like, there were no more footsteps once I had, you know, popped up and looked. And so I thought it was really weird, and I was kind of, like, getting weirded out a little, but I didn't feel scared necessarily. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? And is someone here? And again, I'm assuming, like, by someone here, I'm thinking like my cousin or my uncle, someone has come and is here, and just like, I don't know. But no one responded when I said hello. But I take it upon myself to carry the portable phone, you know, like 10-year-old little Jennifer, and I, like, you know, actively actually look down the hallway. There's nothing. I think my bedroom door was closed because my room was really messy, so I just closed the door. But my dad's was open. Don't see anyone in there. And then I'm like, oh, maybe the dog is in here, and somehow I'm like blowing foot sounds out of proportion somehow. I don't know if you could hear the cat hissing. So I'm like, oh, maybe the dog's in the back room. Like, there's like the kitchen, and then there was sort of like a weird back room that went out to the backyard. I don't see the dog in there, and I look out the back door, and I can see the dog is outside in his dog run. So I'm like, okay, dog is not a suspect for loud, not dog sounding footsteps anyway. And so then I go back into the kitchen, and I paused in the kitchen, and that's like the only time I've ever had this feeling where it was just a sudden, like, dread and like a threat. There just felt threatened out of nowhere. All the hair just starts standing up on like the back of my neck and my arms, and I felt like I felt scared for the first time in this situation. Whereas before I was more curious, like, what is going on, or like who's here, or something like that. But at this moment, just there was this impending dread, and I didn't like it. You know, go figure. So my cat was in the kitchen with me, and I grabbed my cat, and then I went to the bathroom because it was the only door in the house that locked, and I locked the door, and I've got the portable phone, so I call my mom. She answers, and I say, Mom, you have to come pick me up right now. You need to come get me. You need to come get me right now. And she was like, okay, it'll take me like half an hour, but I'll be there. And then we hung up, and then I sat in the bathroom for a second and kind of like deep breaths, unlock the door, peek out, don't see anything, run to my room, grab my backpack and a couple of things that I needed, like, that I would take back and forth between my parents' house, and then I ran to the front door. I threw the portable phone onto the couch, opened the door, locked it behind me, shut it. Right when that door shut, all of a sudden I felt fine. Like, all the threat, all that like tension that I felt in the air was just gone. It just died immediately, and I felt okay. But I was like, I'm not going fucking back in that house. So I just sat down on my front porch and waited for my mom to come get me. So my mom picked me up. I went to my mom's house. I called my dad when I got to my mom's house. And that kind of tells you that, like, I was in a rush, because I didn't think to call my dad and tell him my mom was coming to get me until I was like safe at my mom's house, far away from whatever the fuck was going on. So I called my dad and I'm like, hey, I had mom pick me up. So I'm at her house now, so that's why I'm not there when you get home. And he was like, okay, whatever. So, you know, whatever, I'm hanging out at home, my mom's house. So my dad gets off work, 5 or 6 or whatever time, goes home, and then calls my mom's and asks to talk to me. And my mom's like, oh, your dad wants to talk to you about something. I'm like, what's up, Dad? And he's like, hey, Jennifer, did you take the horse blanket off of the couch and throw it in the kitchen on the floor for some reason? And I was like, why would I do that? And he's like, I don't know, but the horse blanket is on the floor in the kitchen. And I was like, well, I didn't do it. And it gives me the heebie-jeebies thinking about it, because like, what happened after I left? Like, what moved that? So if you don't know, horse blankets are like the really thick, heavy blanket that you put underneath a saddle. So they're heavy. Like, as a 10-year-old kid, like, they were heavy for me to pick up. Like, they were unpleasant to carry. They were hard to carry, because that's how heavy they are. So the only thing in the house was my old lady cat Nanner. She wasn't old yet at this point. She was much younger, but it remains that she is about a 7-pound cat, and a horse blanket is just way too heavy for her to move. So even if she like hooked her claw in it, like dicking around, she wouldn't have physically been able to drag it all the way from like on the couch down and all the way around into the kitchen, which was in it was like around the corner. So really weird. That is actually what scared me the most. Like, in the end, it was not the feeling of being terrified, but the knowledge that something happened after I left that like really has stuck with me over the years. Because what the fuck happened when I left? What would have happened if I didn't leave? Like, I think I made the right decision to get the fuck out when I did. Before filming this, I went and I talked to my dad. I was like, do you remember the day that I randomly left your house? You know, like, so he was like, no, that doesn't sound familiar. And I was like, do you remember calling me and asking about the horse blanket being taken from the couch and thrown in the kitchen and was just on the floor in the kitchen? And he was like, no, I don't remember that. So I was like, okay, you're no help. So I called my mom and I was like, hey mom, do you remember that day during the summer I was at dad's and I called you panicking, asking you to come pick me up? And she was like, yeah, I remember that. It was really weird because you were freaking out. And I was like, why didn't you ever ask what happened? Because like, I didn't say why I wanted her to pick me up. I just said, I need you to come get me right now, sort of thing. And she was like, I don't know. I just didn't think about it. That I think is very odd too, that like, I did something so out of character and I was acting so bizarrely, and like neither parent questioned it. The only question was like, why is the blanket in the kitchen? And then I was like, I don't know. And then that was it. It was dropped and we never talked about it again. Another weird thing is that I never felt uncomfortable being alone in that house before that. And I never felt uncomfortable any other day after that. Like, it was like this one moment happened and I never felt a threat in that house ever any other time. Possibly the weirdest thing out of all the weirdness of this is that it happened in broad daylight, because like, I feel like I associate spooky things happening with like darkness, with nighttime. That's always struck me as very odd. I think that experience was actually what started me first learning and researching on the internet about paranormal stuff. I think it's super fascinating, but like, I'm not a full-on believer. I'm open to the possibility of things, and I think there are things that I can't explain. But do I 100% believe in ghosts? Do I 100% believe in like demons or aliens or whatever? No. But possible things that maybe it could be attributed to, though I don't necessarily think it is any of these things. Ghosts, poltergeist, I guess, because an object was moved. Though I didn't see it happen. Obviously, it had to have happened after I left the house. I guess, like, demonic, just because, like, the feeling that it gave me, I've never felt so threatened in my life, even by, like, scary human beings around me. And then, like, of course, there's always the possibility of aliens, because that would fit in with, like, no one asking questions. Do I think I ran into aliens? Probably not. Do I think I had a, daytime fiesta with a demon? I don't think so. I don't know. But like, I just know that I don't know. I think that's part of what makes it so unsettling looking back, is like all these little weird things that kind of came together into this weird day. Possibly the scariest potential explanation is misremembering that something else happened that day, and I have overwritten it with this memory of footsteps coming down the hallway. I don't know. It is scary to think that like maybe this is just something covering up something darker that happened that day that wasn't paranormal. There was just some shitty person doing something that scared me for some reason, and then they maybe let me call my mom and get picked up, or they left, and so I called my mom, and in my mind I just remember footsteps coming down the hallway.